Hi everyone, I'm here to explain the tutorial component of our class. I hope this is not going to be too confusing. There are two different aspects of the class that pertain to the tutorials that you're going to be doing. There is the tutorial report and there's also the assessment plan. Both of those things relate to what you're doing with your tutee, with your student in these tutorial sessions. And so both of those, the tutorial report and the assessment plan, are reported in our tutorial blogs. Okay, you get to the tutorial blog by clicking here, tutorial blog, and here you'll see each of the blogs that are required in order to fulfill the requirements of both of those two assignments. For example, your preliminary session says in this blog entry, respond to all of the items in tutorial report part 1. Okay, so this is the blog where you're going to submit your responses to tutorial report part 1. Okay, and the other blogs are similar. Let me just open up the assignments. When you click on the assignments page, you can see tutorial report information is here and assessment plan information is here. Let's take a brief look at the tutorial report. Let's see. So for this assignment, you will tutor one second language learner of English in reading. You really must identify a learner who needs assistance in reading and who is a second language learner of English. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to apply some of the things that you need to apply for my class. But there's different things you're going to do. So you're going to be conducting some assessments on this student. You're going to be trying out some of the different techniques from our class and trying to figure out how you can most help this learner with their reading. Okay, so there's a bunch of different things we're going to be applying with your learner in this class, and it's really going to help to solidify what we're talking about in theory in our readings and in our lectures. So it's a really important aspect of the class. Now, the first part of the tutorial report is preliminary information about your student. So let me explain it this way. You have 5 main sessions, and you can do more if you want, of course. You have 5 main sessions that are required for your tutorial report. But before you get to those 5 main sessions, you've got to gather some information and do some preliminary assessments with your learner. So I recommend that you start with a preliminary meeting once or twice with your learner to get some basic information and to conduct some assessments with them prior to your first main session. So for example, if you look over here at the blog, preliminary session A, that's where you report on tutorial report part 1, which is here. You describe the teaching context and the standards. You really don't need to describe the standards as much, but just mainly the context in which you're teaching. What kind of school is it? What kind of level is it? Is this an IEP? Is it an after-school program for elementary school kids? What is this place or the context in which the learner is studying English? Next, you're describing the learner, something about their age. You probably want to give a pseudonym, not their real name for this. Their age, what is their first language, etc. So basic information about the learner. And based on what you learned about them, what do you think they need to work on? What do you think their needs are? What kind of goals do you want to set for your tutorial sessions with them? So that's tutorial report part 1. And again, you report it here in your blog. Now, another part is the assessment plan that you also need to think about early in the quarter. And this is gathering more specific information about your learner's literacy background, with a survey. You're going to do a motivation survey, and you're going to do some diagnostic assessments about their reading, okay, and then reflecting on what you learned from that. So early on, you're going to be conducting these surveys and assessments with your learner to gather as much information as you can about their reading and about their motivation and their interests. What I have produced in our tutorial report folder is an overview of how most people proceed through these tutorial sessions week by week. So here's a recommended week-by-week plan for your tutorial. First, you're going to obviously identify a tutee. Next, conduct that preliminary meeting where you do those assessments I just talked about, tutorial report part 1 and assessment plan part 1. And then you get into your individual sessions, and in just a moment I'll explain how you report on those sessions and finally how you reflect at the end of the quarter. However, don't forget that there is also, in addition to those 2 part 1s, there's also a vocabulary and text selection blog, and that comes later in the quarter because that is associated with tutorial report part 2 right here. But if you think your student needs to work in particular on vocabulary, then you should do that earlier. You should jump ahead and get the things from that module, module 6, that you might need in order to do this. And you can contact me if you have any questions about doing that. But at some point in your tutorial sessions, you're going to need to do this assessment plan part 2. So plan ahead for that.